All right, welcome back, everyone. I appreciate y'all being here. As you can see, we have ZBrush open and our helmet model that we were working on yesterday. We are going to continue on with this model. I've done a few little adjustments. I couldn't handle myself when I was eating breakfast and drinking my coffee this morning. I had to fiddle around with it a little bit. All I did was come in here, put a crease across the front here, flare this out a little bit more, and then I adjusted these across the top. That's pretty much all that I did. You really didn't miss anything that I showed you yesterday. So we are going to continue on and see how this turns out. All right. I'm going to change the material. So we're going to go up to the top. MRGB means material and color. So I'm going to select that, and we're going to go to matte cap gray, just because I like the way that it looks. Kind of resembles armor. Then we're going to go to fill object. Okay, we filled that object. I'm going to left click while holding Alt on the head model, and we're going to change this to matte cap red. All right, fill object, just for the contrasting difference. Just personal preference. You can decide if you want to do it or not, but I wanted to do it, so we're going to go ahead and continue on in that way. Hold down Alt, left click on the model of the helmet, and we're going to go down to low res. So I don't like the way that this poly loop is right here. I want this poly loop to continue on. So a couple things that we need to do in order to make that happen. We could come in here and slide this up. I'll show you how to do that. We're going to go to hover over this poly loop right here. All right. We're going to go to slide, and we're going to grab a little bit further back, maybe right here, and we're going to slide this up. Remember, if you end up hovering over and it's a dotted line, that means you're selecting the poly loop on the inside of the helmet rather than the outside of the helmet. So we can slide that up, hover over this point. We're going to slide that a little bit. Just trying to make this consistent with where the eye slit is. Okay. Turn our draw size down a little bit. Having some conflict with some other points there. All right. You see on the inside, you can see that poly loop line on the inside bleeding out a little bit. So I'm going to grab that with the move brush, and I'm going to push that in. Might be a little bit hard for you to see on your end. If you slow down the video, maybe pause it or something, you'll see those lines bleeding through. All right, that's looking pretty good. We've got, looks like we have one right in here that's having the same issue. If you can see to grab it on the inside of the model, you can push it in. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this polygon right here. Hover over, hold down spacebar, go to delete, and we're going to delete that polygon. You can see that the one on the inside is still there. We don't want to delete that one, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to hover over this poly loop line. We're going to go to insert, and we are going to insert edge loop about right there. Then we can leave a triangle here. That's not too much of an issue. Get back over to the one I was kind of working with. All right, there we go on my reference image. And I'll go ahead and pull this over so y'all can see it. So what I'm working with right now is I'm trying to kind of mimic this shape right through here, but it's not going to be exactly the same. It's going to come off my helmet about right in here and then come across and come down. So that's what we're recreating right now. Not exactly the same. Again, it's still my own design, but just taking kind of features and elements that I like on this other model and adapting it to work for my helmet. So you want to make sure you're not selecting the inside poly loop on that inside edge of that polygon. You want to make sure that you're hovering over and get a solid white line there on the outer poly loop. All right, and then there you go, bridge that, and then we can re-bridge this one. Sometimes it's kind of hard when you have all these polygons together And poly loops, it doesn't always want to let you grab what you want to grab. So, there we go. You just kind of move your cursor around until you see that one edge light up. All right, so that's kind of what I wanted. We can go ahead and go to auto group, change the color back to all one solid color so we don't end up manipulating things separately from one another. Right, technically what we could do too to get rid of this triangle is we can hover over this point and go to stitch. Okay, now it's creating some artifacts where the inside is bleeding through to the outside, but we'll fix that here in just a minute. I'm just stitching these points together. See how the inside's kind of jacked up? We're going to go ahead and go to solo mode, flip around to the inside. All right. And see if we can remove this edge loop. All right. See, it mimics each other now. Then we've got a problem where these are bleeding through together right here, these points. See if we can turn our draw size down really low and grab that inside point and keep moving around until we get this to spread apart. Not wanting to do it. I've zoomed in about as far as I can zoom. So let's see if I can get them to separate. All right, not wanting to work. All right, so let's zoom back out. We'll control Z until that point is still where we need it. All right, so maybe we'll just go ahead and start with grabbing and moving that out a little bit just to create our own bit of thickness so that when we end up, you can see it moving on the other side too because we've got symmetry still on. If you're forgetting how to turn symmetry on, just tap X or go to transform and make sure that it's on here. All right. So we've slid those points out a little bit and we can continue on here. We're still going to try and delete this poly loop right here and let's see what happens. So what it's doing is collapsing because we have conflict here. So sometimes you can delete polygons and then when you go to see, there we go, it kept it separate from one another. Now let's make sure up here we still have this separate, this polygon, so we don't have any problems. Then what we can do is we can go ahead and hover over this point, go back to bridge and bridge these back together. Okay, you can see that it's all one now. We're going to go ahead and go to auto group. I don't like pink. Let's keep going. That green will work. All right. We also have a conflict here, so we need to delete these polygons and bridge this, undo this back together. Oh, I see now why we're having that problem is because we don't have an inserted poly loop there because the inside we didn't adjust. All right. So what we need to do is undo that. We can redo that. That's fine. All right. Then we can slide this up. Go back to slide. Since we're on the inside, we want to kind of keep the thickness consistency of the helmet. So we're going to use slide in the Zmodeler on that vertice. And we're going to slide this up similarly to the way that we did on the outside of the helmet all the way around the back to mimic the distance between these 2 points, just like the distance between the 2 points or 2 poly loops of the eye slit. All right. Now that we have that, we can insert, make sure you're right on the right poly loop. All right, hold on here. Come on. There we go. All right, so we're going to go to insert and we're going to insert, make sure it turns white, make sure it turns white for the foreground. Sometimes you got to search for it. And sometimes I hit it and then miss it. There we go. It's right there. Then we can slide it down and put it in the middle. I can do it by eyeball. I don't need to go to multiple edge loops in order to do that. All right. We're going to do the same there. And that is actually transferring to the outside as well, which is what we wanted. So now we don't have any triangles right there. It's a lot more clean and consistent. Last thing we need to do is we need to go back on the inside and we need to bridge these poly loops together so that we have polygons to there. All right. All right, we're having a conflict here where we don't have a poly loop either. So we need to go back to bridge, or not bridge, insert. Let's find the right one. There we go. And then we can go back to bridge, find the right poly loop line. Bridge that to that. Make sure you're getting the inside polygons and poly loops, not the outside of the helmet. There we go. All right, so that's nice and consistent. Auto group back to bright green. I prefer that anyway. All right, there we go. And that's what we wanted. Let's go to high res, see what it turns into. We're having some conflict here, but that's okay. We can adjust that a little later on down the road. Not a big problem. Go back to low res. All right, I'm going to bring it just past the eye slit, probably right here. We're going to go to make sure I've selected the outside. We're going to go to crease, and we are going to crease this poly loop there. And then we're going to come down to, I think, let's see here, maybe to right in there, and then bring it down to there. Do I want to bring it down that far, or do I want to just continue on? Maybe I bring it down to there. So maybe we undo that last part we put in, crease this, and let's see how that looks. Just based upon the structure and the polygons that I have available, see how that turns out. All right, in order to constrain this, what we'll probably end up having to do is crease this and this to keep it from moving on us. Kind of distorts it a little bit, and that's okay. Not a problem. That will change whenever we extrude it, because we're actually going to extrude this part. So I thought that I wanted to go to there, and I still may want to do that, but we're going to go ahead and make sure backface masking is on. I don't think it works with highlighting in the Zmodeler brush, backface masking that is. You just want to make sure you go on the inside and unhighlight any of those that may have been highlighted on the inside. All right. I think I want to insert a poly loop here. All right. About like that. Make sure it went on the inside and we don't have any strange artifacts. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to hover over a polygon. We're going to go to QMesh and QMesh this out. About like that right there. Doesn't need to be incredibly pronounced, but I just want it to be a little bit thicker there. All right, we can auto group again, go back to green just because I like the brightness of it. Well, there we go. All right. Then we can go to high res and see how that turns out. We don't need to constrain those edges because it is a different plane now, and it will constrain itself whenever I crease that corner, just like that right there. Come down here to the bottom side, constrain that. That one is already constrained by the crease, and then we want to do the same for here. Make sure that it is. All right, now let's see what it turns into. All right, turn off polyframe mode. Decrease that bottom part. That nice and sharp. All right. Looks kind of cool. However, I think I want an angle here and then to bring it back in. So that's kind of tricky. Turn to low res. We'll highlight this, and potentially that one, and we'll see if we can make it happen with what we have here. All right. So we're going to go ahead and Q mesh that. It should pop out to the same height as what we've already done. Then we can crease these. I'm not creasing these points because that's not my goal. Now that we have that, we can go to high res, see how it turns out. Definitely not what I'm looking for. Uncrease this, and undo that, and that. And then we can pull this around to where this ends up being the point of the turn. All right. And we can grab the move tool, turn up the draw size a little bit. Then we're going to pull that out like that. Should pull the inside pretty well. If it doesn't, you can just reach in on the inside and gradually adjust it. Okay. And then we want to pull the inside like that and the outside, get it nice and symmetrical. We can adjust it a little bit more as we go. It takes just a little bit more refinement than just one time. Pull that out like that. Still no triangles, they're still quads. All right, looking pretty good. And then when we go to high res, we will be able to adjust it even more for what we're going for. This might be a little bit more than I intended. So pull that out like that, pull this out like that, grab the inside. Bring the draw size down even more. Let's see how that turns out. We'll go to high res. We need a corner there. Crease that. It's a little more like what I was going for. And then we can grab the move tool, even being in high res mode. Okay, and I want to pull this up, just kind of stylized like that. Just a little bit more aggressive. If the outside isn't moving like the inside is, just turn your draw size down and you can adjust it individually. Again, this is a tutorial video, not necessarily for entertainment. So if you are watching this video and you don't quite feel entertained, it's not the purposes of this video. I will have other entertaining time-lapse videos in the future, but this is so others can learn how to 3D model their own cosplay helmet. And essentially you can use these exact same techniques on 3D modeling other parts of armor as well. A little bit of a flare up like that. I think that looks cool. Again, I want it to be an aggressive helmet. Turn off polyframe mode and let's see how things are turning out. Not too bad. Not too bad. Might be a little more than I wanted, having this thick all the way down to the front. It might be cool if I was to stop it here and then have just this as one panel coming out on its own. But we're going to add more detail to this in the future rather than just this mechanical way of 3D modeling. We'll do some sculpting and stuff like that as well. All right. Right in through here seems to be a little bit of an issue, and it's this intersection. So I'm going to grab that, slide that up in, so it's just a little bit more smooth of a transition down through here. A little bit more smooth of a curve. All right, turn polyframe mode off. That already looks better. That looks pretty good. We can smooth that out in kind of post-processing, if that makes sense. All right. Looking pretty snazzy. This is a little bit too far in from what I want. So we'll slide that out just a little bit more. All right. That's a little bit more pronounced than I want. Cool. I think it's looking pretty good. I know you can see a little bit of rigidness in through here, you know what I mean? So you can see contour lines and stuff like that. But we will smooth all that out again in the post-processing aspect of creating this. But I think we have a pretty good model, a pretty good representation of what I was going for. I kind of like the idea of pulling this up and it being a little bit higher, but if we're trying to stay realistic and we have the what would be the shoulders here, shoulder pauldrons, or the neck, if you were to rotate left to right, that makes space and room for your neck, but it's not such a big opening that it leaves you vulnerable from attack on the side. Yeah, sure, you could point a sword right in this location and skewer the neck for sure, but at the same time, there could potentially be shoulder pauldrons here that could block that attack. So it's more for mobility, but still having enough protection there to keep you from getting skewered. I kind of like the idea of bringing it up a little bit more. Let's go ahead and play around with that for just a second, and we can always move it back down and out. We'll see if we can kind of move it all at one and see how it turns out. Again, we can just Control Z this and undo what we've already done. It's not that big a deal. How does that look? Does it look more aggressive? Does it look... I don't know. I don't know. Maybe if the back came down a little bit more, maybe we'll pull that down and out a little bit. And then that back in. That's a little bit more of a flare than I want, maybe. But it still looks aggressive and pretty clean. Nice clean lines and so on. Looks pretty slick. I think it looks pretty menacing too. Not crazy menacing, but definitely menacing. One way that we might be able to increase how menacing it looks is to bring this down a little bit more sharp, like that. Not bad. Looks pretty cool, kind of aggressive. kind of like the eye slit has a scowl aspect to it. And then maybe bring this in like that. Okay, okay. What do y'all think? Do y'all think this looks better, or do you think the original looks better? Let's go back. We can grab the timeline here, and we can go back to where it was. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that. We are going to duplicate this portion of the model. We're going to move that up, out of the way, turn it off. Actually, not that one, this one. Move this one back down because we still have the timeline changes here. And we're going to keep that version as well and turn the original off. All right. And I'm going to go forward with this version. For now, I may finish that other one out in the future. But I like the way this one is looking from the side profile. The front isn't quite as aggressive as I would like it to be. Maybe it's this portion here that is the issue. Turn poly frame mode on. And it's a little angled convexed instead of concaved. So maybe if we adjust that just a little bit, that concave aspect of it will make it look more aggressive. And I think that it did. I actually think that it did. So a little bit like that. Bring this out just a little bit more and like that. We were getting pretty close to where the nose was, and I didn't want to have it colliding with the nose. Also, the way that it sits on your face, like depending on who you are, what padding you might put on the inside, it could change that a little bit. This, I think, needs to come out a little bit like that. And honestly, we could probably connect these two. It's not really necessary to have them separate in that way. However, it looks cool. It looks cool. We may end up adjusting that in the future, but I think it's really starting to look good from the side profile and the front. The front, I want to keep from flaring this out even more, which ultimately would make it look more aggressive. But maybe what the issue is as to why it's not aggressive as much as I would like it to be is because this is too tall in through here. So we can adjust that and see if it becomes more aggressive looking. So maybe pull that out like that, pull that up like that, and this like this. And then maybe it ends up transitioning to look more aggressive. I think that looks better that way. And then this, maybe a little adjustment in through here. Sometimes polyframe on, sometimes polyframe off. Just kind of depends. It always looks different to your eye depending on which setting you have turned on. Maybe push that in just a little bit and then not have this show on the outside of that portion of the mask. Maybe something like that. Maybe turn the polyframe mode on here. Ah, we have a crease there. That could be causing issues for us as far as smoothness down through there. When you turn polyframe mode on, you can kind of see, because of the poly loop lines, where something is kind of sunk in where it shouldn't be. The contour of the helmet, if that makes sense. So sometimes you need to turn it on, sometimes you need to turn it off. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. Pretty stinking good, I think. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and save this file. Save as. We're going to go to 3. I always save multiple variations of models. I don't like how flat this is in the back. We might do something a little different here. But I think I'm to the point where I want to continue on with the next process of the modeling. And though that process is overlays from this point on, I think overlays are the way to go. I don't like this notch here, this 90-degree. So I think what we're going to end up doing is moving forward in the Zmodeler brush, and we're going to stitch these 2 points here. I like that better. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I think I like that. And then as it goes further down, and maybe not, maybe like that right there. We've got a crease there that we don't want. Uncrease that. Go to move, pull this back in just a little bit, pull this out. Maybe something like that. These creases in through here are unnecessary. So we will uncrease this down through here. We have extra creases in here. No, we're good. All right. Looks pretty menacing. Let's go ahead and turn transparent mode on. All right, now, you see how I have a lot of extra space in through here? I don't like that. It's more than I need. So we're going to adjust this. Maybe we try with the move tool first. See how that turns out. But before we move, maybe we mask this off and adjust this inward. Not quite where I think the mask needs to be. Maybe right there. Turn off the move tool. Turn off polyframe. See how that worked. Turn off transparent mode. Okay, I like the narrowness up here a little bit better, but I don't like this flare out, and I think we can potentially avoid that if we move it in a different way. So we're going to turn the move brush on, the draw size up, turn transparency back on, and then maybe just do this. Push it in just a little bit more. Something about like that. The back looks pretty good. Should be able to slide a head in. No problem there. Maybe pull this down and in just a little bit. That looks pretty good. There's something in through here that I don't like. I don't quite know what it is. And I wonder if it's right there. Not too bad. I think those adjustments were necessary. Really do. All right, so we're going to go ahead and duplicate this, move that one up, turn it off. All right. Now we're going to do some overlays, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, let's see here. Let's go solo mode. And it kind of seems like we need to pull the inside a little bit, because moving and pulling and adjusting and stuff like that, we've kind of created some conflicts. All I'm doing right now is just very gently smoothing. I'm going to turn my Z intensity down to maybe 10 and see, just very gently, just tapping and moving. We're going to turn back face masking on while using smooth. See how it bled over into the inside there? That's okay. We can adjust that. And then here in the back, right here, just lightly smoothing things out, trying to get rid of any ridges that I may see based upon the shadows. There's a few in through there, but I think we're going to be okay. As we continue on, we will gradually fix those. If you get too hardcore with it right now, you can create... Oh, well, I'm on the wrong model. That's the reason why. It's like, why is this not adjusting? Again, you can see the inside bleeding through a little bit there, but that is okay. Now I'll turn on solo. We'll go on the inside. I'm just kind of holding down shift and lightly tapping left mouse click without getting too close to edges. With back face masking on. Pretty sure that I have a crease there. I do. That was one of the reasons we were having issues. Definitely come in here and smooth out a little bit more, just to bring that thickness back between the inside and the outside of the helmet. Again, holding down shift and just lightly tapping the left click on the mouse. I think it's looking pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and delete this last one. We're going to duplicate this one. Move that up and out of the way. Turn it off. All right. Now for the overlays. So whenever you're doing overlays, the way that you do it is with, hold on. Instead of doing that as an overlay, we're going to come in here, go to low res. We are going to insert a poly loop like this. We're going to highlight that poly loop. I'm just left clicking once while holding Alt to select these parts so that I can potentially keep from selecting the parts on the polygons on the inside. Want to split this. Let's see how the split works. Ooh, that goes crazy. Maybe better to do this portion with an overlay. For now, I think we'll go ahead and Q mesh this out. Have anything on the inside? No. Okay, and then we're going to need to crease this. We'll go hover over the edge, go to crease, we'll go edge loop partial, see if that gives us what we want. High res, see how that plays out. Turn off polyframe mode. We need to crease this. And I think there's something inside there we need to crease. Low res, crease that. And potentially that. See how that turns out. And then obviously here in the front. All right, we're going to go ahead and grab this and adjust it to make sure that we're not colliding with the head model. Decently smooth. I think right in here needs to be adjusted a little bit. It's looking pretty good. I think the addition of that really helped out. And we're going to add some, it's just too empty in through here. So we're going to add something in here later, but not right at the moment. All right, now back to append, where you have the right subtool selected. We're going to go to append. You could also go to insert if you want to. So we're going to go ahead and insert a cube, Q-cube. We're going to select that cube. You can turn on polyframe mode if it makes it easier for you. We're going to go down to initialize, and we are going to initialize that Q-cube. Transparent. You can see the helmets inside. Leave that on if you want to. We have the cube selected. Make sure focal shift is down to 0 or negative 100 actually. Okay, and then we're going to scale this down and bring it up on top here. All right. Then we can turn transparency off. Maybe leave it on. But we can go back to, yeah, we're fine. We're fine actually. All right. We're going to grab this red rectangle and we're going to squish this down like this. And then we're going to grab this little arrow because it allows you to move this way rather than just on one plane. Grab this little arrow in the bottom right-hand corner or left or right or top. Right. And then we are going to create some sun spikes. You can hold down Shift too, and it will snap to 45-degree angles and 90-degree angles. Just go ahead and snap that to the 45-degree real quick. We're going to decrease the size this way. And then we're going to pull it down into here. Maybe adjust it a little bit more. And then go back to edit mode. Just double click on edit. There's hotkeys, but I've never learned them. Too many hotkeys in my brain already. Then we're going to make sure symmetry is turned on by hitting X, and we should still be on X symmetry, which we are. We're going to grab the move tool and we're going to slide this down like this. We're going to slide this up like this. And just kind of adjust it a little bit. I could remove this center poly loop line by going to Zmodeler, hold down, hover over, insert, hold down Alt, left click, and remove that. If you want to go that route, I kind of like the idea of having that poly loop in, but we can always add it back in later if we want to. And I have a feeling this is going to be kind of a process to see what I think looks good as we go, rather than just like real quickly getting it exactly the way that I want it. Do I want it to come out of the front exactly symmetrically with the front of this portion right here? Or do I want it to come out kind of centered? I'm not exactly sure how I want to do it. Sometimes if you can't grab a vertice that's inside something else, then you have to turn it on solo mode to grab it and move it. So maybe we start with something like that. Now what we're going to do is duplicate that. We're going to grab the move tool and we're going to move another one. And then we're going to adjust it. Then we're going to duplicate, move, and adjust it. And we're going to continue that until I have one of these for each section. And then we can adjust them accordingly based upon the position that they're in. Duplicate, move. And they're getting a little bit distorted because I've got focal shift on each new one is going to end up being at 0 whenever you create a new subtool. So as you go, you might just pay attention to that because a couple of those got distorted. And I think it worked to my favor, which is fine. But now that I'm getting closer to the back, I'm going to duplicate and then go make sure I adjust it to where they don't get distorted too much. Although I think it's working out pretty well. Now that I'm getting back closer to these back sections, the sections are getting smaller. So I'm going to end up decreasing the size of them from front to back and maybe even vertically. But I'm not going to use the scale tool because then it will scale the thickness from right to left, and I want them to be consistent in the right to left thickness. Scale that down a little bit more. Move it forward a little bit. Maybe a little bit more. And maybe vertical height was a little bit too much of adjustment. All right, and I will duplicate again. And maybe this one will be a little bit wider from front to back. Probably should have ended up creasing the edges before I continued moving, duplicating and moving them. Probably would have been a smart move. So if you're doing this yourself, maybe do that, because now I'm going to have to go individually and crease all of these. All right. Let's zoom out a little bit here. Select the helmet, turn off polyframe mode, and see how this is looking. And instead of gray, mRGB is on. I think we're going to switch this to maybe matte cap gorilla, fill object, turn off transparency, and see how it looks in black. And I think I'm going to turn these to a gold or a bronze. That's kind of a reflective yellow. reflective bronze, fill object, and we will go through. I'm left clicking and holding down Alt and left clicking at the same time. Making sure I'm not missing any. Okay. Can collapse color over there. So I'm going to select the helmet and I'm going to undo our last adjustment. That one right there, go to polyframe mode. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to go back to the Zmodeler brush and we're going to go to extrude and we're going to extrude this out. And then what we're going to end up doing is we're going to auto group. Okay. What happened here? The extrusion didn't work. Ah, that's why. Hover over, hold down spacebar, make sure we're on extrude, and we're going to go to no sides poly. And that's how it's going to do. It's going to completely separate from the main helmet and create an entirely new part. You don't have to go too far, just enough to where you can see that separation there. We're going to go to auto group, and you're going to see that the color is different. Okay, it's a dark purple comparatively to kind of a brighter purple. And we're going to go to group split. Always okay. And now that is its own subtool. And you can see it right here. Select that, the helmet, and then select that. You can see the separation. We're going to auto group just so we can see different color. And then we're going to hover over, go to poly or Q mesh, and we are going to do Q mesh polygroup all, and we're going to extrude that out. Okay. We missed a portion right there. I'm not exactly sure how we missed that portion. So we're going to go ahead and delete that because we missed a portion of the helmet. We're going to go back to the helmet. We're going to re-select all these points by holding down Alt and left clicking. I used to have a little signifier on my screen that would show my mouse clicks as I worked. And I don't have that anymore. I need to re-find that. I had reformatted my computer and I can't remember the name of the program. So we're going to go back to extrude. We're going to go to no sides poly. We're going to extrude that out. We're going to auto group, group split. Now we have everything that we needed, specifically that part right there that we had missed. We're going to select that. Then we're going to go back, Q mesh, polygroup all, and we're going to, it's creating a conflict whenever we extrude it. Okay, maybe we can come in here and adjust it. Turn the draw size down. Grab this, grab that, move it away from each other. Maybe turn the draw size down even more. All right, there we go. I think potentially we'll go to solo real quick so we can see it from both sides. And grab the inside point, pull it out, grab the outside point, grab the outside point, pull it out, inside point, pull it in. And we'll do the same thing here. It's okay if it distorts the shape a little bit because we can adjust that because this is going to end up being an overlay rather than part of the original helmet. All right, so now that we have that, let's see if we can continue to, back to Zmodeler brush, continue to Q mesh this out. Okay, you see how it created a new line? What we can do is insert's already selected, hold down Alt, left click, and it will remove that because we don't need that to be multiple layers. So we've got a conflict back here too. And let's see how far back it goes. All right, so here it is. We've got a conflict. I'm not exactly sure why that conflict is happening whenever we extrude. We need to go back to the same strategy of pulling out and pulling in from opposite vertices inside and outside the model. And then whenever we extrude, potentially that conflict won't exist anymore. Give it a little bit more thickness in a manual way. Okay. A lot of these narrow points we just want to make sure that we address. Still try to keep somewhat of a consistent thickness with the parts if you can, even doing this, for lack of a better term, manual extrusion using the move tool. That way, whenever you end up utilizing QMesh and extruding it out, then you'll still have a consistent thickness of this edge border of the helmet, this overlay that we're creating. All right. This is a little narrow in through here. Seems a little bit tedious, but this is kind of the final finish work of the helmet. Maybe not the final finish work for sure. We still have a lot more overlays to do and rivet details and smoothing out of various parts and stuff like that. But back to the tedious work. Obviously, you could do this a lot faster, right? So I'm sure people that watch this video and think, oh my gosh, I can 3D model so much faster than that. He's making it so much more difficult than it needs to be. I like to have access and control, precise access and control for every aspect of the model that I'm working on. And whenever you're just modeling a character where the parts collide with one another, where you're not worried about the armor colliding into and inside the character model itself, it's just a different way of modeling, in my opinion. I've created characters and miniatures and stuff like that for tabletop games and little doodads that you put on your desk just because it's cool, like maybe an action figure or a bust or something like that of a character that you like. I've done that, and this is just a completely different way of 3D modeling from my experience. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and go back to Zmodeler, and we are going to extrude this out with QMesh and see how that looks. Again, we'll go back on the inside, hover over and delete that poly loop, go back to solo mode, and we will crease all these edges. We'll go to crease, edge loop complete should be sufficient. Top and bottom outside layer. We do need to crease. That is creased, so we're good there. Make sure these edges are creased here on both sides because we've got symmetry turned on. And right there. All right, go to high resolution. All right, go back to the helmet, high resolution. And you can see how it takes the place that it needs to take, okay? One of the reasons I wanted to do that is because I wanted to be able to change the color of that part for pictures so that whenever I'm done with my helmet and I want to display it on social media or something like that, I've got all these different parts that I want to be colored differently, obviously different colors. We'll go back to Matcap Gorilla because I like the flat look of the shiny and the flat together. And then whenever you go to BP render, you can see the clear difference between the shades and so on. Still need to go back since we undid a lot of the smoothing that we did with the helmet. We need to readjust this out so we're not colliding with the actual head model itself. Still nice and smooth. Pulled that back out. And we're looking pretty good. If you want, you can select the head model and you can go to this matte cap brown and you can turn that more to like a skin color if you want to. But for some reason, I like to leave it red. I don't know. It's just because I don't know. Just for some reason. Anyway, all right. So then we can continue on with adjusting these. This one, in my opinion, go ahead and turn polyframe mode on. We're going to go to move. This one needs to be bigger. Okay, maybe adjust the way that it sits inside there. This one needs to be bigger. So we're going to grab this blue rectangle and adjust it a little bit more. And this one as well, a little bit bigger. Hold that down a little bit like that. That one looks decent. This one is about the right size. This one needs to be a little bit smaller, I think, and then pull that back. This one might need to be a little bit bigger. Pull this back and in. This one needs to be a little bit smaller, I think, and pull this kind of back and down. And this one, I think could be, undo, make sure you don't grab the green line, be a little bit bigger as well, and then pull that back like that. Okay, now I think we can do some adjustments. Aside from the move tool, use the move brush. Pull this down like this. This, I think, needs to have a little bit more of a tilt. So we're going to pull that up like that. And this, a little bit more like that. Okay. Turn it on transparent mode. It's okay if they're not exactly consistent. It's not really my goal for them to be exactly consistent in the shape that they are. Move up. I say that, now I'm adjusting it in more of a consistent manner. But it's all about what's pleasing to the eye. You know what I mean? Everybody's going to have something different. Again, this is my own original creation. It is loosely based on a couple different versions of helmets that I like. And it's actually, the concept is by Pierce Brown, who is an author of a book series that I like to read. And I've read it, I think, 3 or 4 times now. But it's called Red Rising. And it's just a really neat fantasy book series that's sci-fi, but also has aspects of medieval time periods and things like that. It's just a fantastic book series. If you haven't heard of it, I definitely encourage you, if you like to read or even if you like to listen to audiobooks. The audiobook version, I say I read, right? So I listen to the audiobook version because oftentimes when I'm sitting here 3D modeling or working in other aspects of my life or driving, I like to listen to audiobooks along with podcasts and stuff like that. But the audiobook version is really, really fantastic. The narrator uses multiple different accents and just really brings the story to life. And I thoroughly enjoyed it and have enjoyed it multiple times. So I definitely encourage y'all to give it a look if you've never heard of it or never have listened to it or read it. But this is a character. His name's, well, it's a character in the book. I'll leave it to that so I don't give too many spoilers away. But it's the Helm of Ares. And Ares becomes a pretty prevalent main character in the series, and it's fantastic. It's such a good story, and underdog story in a sense. And it's just incredible. But it's based 700 years into humanity's future. And that's pretty much all I want to tell you so that I don't spoil anything. But it's just a really great story. So I encourage y'all to listen to it. All right. I kind of like that. I kind of feel like these could be a little bit taller, and maybe I'll do kind of a variation going further in the future with similar details and stuff around the outside. But for now, I think I'm going to leave it at that. So we're going to go back to this overlay now that it actually is separate. And we're going to do a few things. We're going to hover over this edge, and we're going to go to this polygon here, this polygon edge. We're going to go to extrude, and we're going to go to one side poly, single polygon, and extrude that out. We can go back to low res so that we don't get too much distortion. And then we'll use the move brush to move this over, in and out until we get it to the right shape that we want it to be in. All right. Then we will grab another and pull that out so as that we don't get too far from staying close to the shape that we want, and then stop, pull another polygon out, and continue up the side of the mask here. Back to the Zmodeler brush, then back to the move tool, or the move brush, and in and out, in and out. And we will gradually adjust it as we go. Again, Zmodeler, move brush, and adjust. Making sure that I rotate around the model to select and grab and move and pull the way that I think it needs to be done. Now that we get to this point, we're going to go to auto group. Make sure we change the colors because we're going to highlight again and we don't want to have any conflict. And we're going to pull this out and move and adjust. I like working in short spurts like this rather than extruding it and dividing it and then trying to do it all at once. It's just, you know, you'll develop your own workflow as to how you want to do things like this, and it's completely up to you. It's just you'll kind of figure it out as you go. You know, I've been working with ZBrush for I've been 3D modeling for close to 15 years now, and I've learned various programs over the years, but I have used ZBrush for a really long time, and I can't remember exactly when I started. I suppose I could go online and take a look at when my subscription started and so on. But I think since they were bought out by a different company, that a lot of that data has disappeared from the previous ownership. But anyway, you'll just, as you work with ZBrush, you'll become more familiar with it and you'll develop your own workflow as to how you do things. You'll figure out new techniques, and I have no doubt that many of you out there will end up being better at ZBrush than I am in the future someday. So don't get discouraged. Don't become disappointed with the progress. Just realize that the only way that you get better at ZBrush is by utilizing it. It's just like any other program or anything else. It's just practice, and you can do it. So just stick with it. And I have no doubt that y'all will eventually be fantastic at it. So what we're going to do here, just because it's kind of my own stylization, has nothing to do with anybody else, we're going to go to back to Stitch. Stitch is already selected solo because I'm inside that other model and I wouldn't be able to select it otherwise. We're going to stitch that because I'm kind of coming up with my own little detail. And I need to crease these edges so that it's nice and sharp. I want to crease that one. This one, I don't want to be sharp. I want to be like a smooth sweep. We'll go to high res. You can see right here that I need to crease this, undo that. I don't want to crease there. I don't want to crease there, or there, or there, or there. That uncreased the backside. Go to solo, crease that. We want to crease in this corner and that corner. And I think we might be good now. All right, how are we looking? Go to turn off solo, turn off polyframe mode, and that looks like poop. It does. I'm not a fan, but a little bit of adjustment, a little bit of time and attention, and we can fix that. All right, I think out there is cool, but I want it to get really sharp and really narrow in through here. This is way bigger than I need it to be. Just changing the draw size, adjusting as I go. This, I don't want it to be wide here. I want it to be narrow here. Okay. Go ahead and go down to low resolution and solo this out. And I want it to be narrow here. Come on now, work with me. I want it to get larger as it gets close to the top and then narrow back out. Polyframe mode should be on right now, but it wasn't. Turned it off. That way I can see the lines, but depending on the resolution that it's in, you can see the lines even without the lines. Something like that. I still think that I want this to be even more narrow, kind of like that right there. Okay. Draw size down a little bit so I don't have too much distortion. Pull this down. Probably would be a good idea to go ahead and use Zmodeler. We're going to go to slide on this poly loop, and we'll slide that down to where it's a little bit more consistent. And honestly, it might be better if we just stitch this there to there, there to there, and then that one I think could be stitched as well. And we'll just get rid of that polygon altogether. We'll have that seam right in the middle. I think that'll end up working out better. All right, turn off solo mode, go back to high resolution. Ooh, we didn't recrease this section. Go back, hover over with spacebar and crease, not insert, edge. We'll go edge loop partial. That should be sufficient. And high res. All right, still a little bit rounded here. I want it to be nice and sharp. We'll turn off transparency, turn off polyframe mode. And we're gonna do that. I may end up removing this. I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I like it. You know, you could do multiple variations of detail and trim work on these helmets. They don't have to be exactly the same. That's why another reason why I like to do multiple variations of helmets, save multiple files so that I can go back at certain points and be like, you know what? It would really look better if this wasn't here, or this wasn't here, or this structure of the helmet was shaped just a little bit differently. And it's hard to go back to that point because sometimes in ZBrush you lose the back history. Sometimes files get corrupt, and it's a great program, don't get me wrong. But sometimes it's just nice to be able to have those different file saves. Time and attention, that's what it takes. Time and attention, moving things around, push, pull, and eventually you'll wind up with something that you like. I want this to be right here on this edge, but I don't want it to be too awfully pronounced, but just intersect. We can kind of smooth that out in the post-processing phase, but you get the idea. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty cool. I think it's a little bit more fat in through here than I want. This is a little wider than I want. I want this to be a little bit more narrow in through here. More of a gradual climb. But I think that's good for now. I'm not sure if I like this black in through here. It might be cool to actually case that in bronze as well. Maybe we'll address that later on. However, this does need to be adjusted. We're going to turn off the head model. And adjust this wonkiness. We need to crease that. We need to crease that. Turn the draw size down because this is kind of precise right here in this corner. Needs to be precise. Tedious work. You can do it however you want to, but this is the process. I've had a lot of people over the years say, hey man, can you be really, really detailed on how you create cosplay armor? And I am very, very often on live streams, but not everybody is able to come into a live stream and watch for hours on end. And so I'm making a recorded video tutorial of the same process because for some reason it seems like people still don't go to my live streams. And those same people are the ones that are saying, hey, can you be really highly detailed? Well, the VODs are there. The VODs are there. You can go back and watch the previous live stream, speed up, slow down, jump ahead, whatever you want to do in order to obtain the knowledge that you're trying to obtain. But then again, people still don't do it. So I figured maybe it's just they don't think they're going to find what they need or want on that live stream. So now I am doing the same thing I do on live streams, just in a recorded video. I'll do a little bit of post editing and hopefully people will end up getting the information that they want. Because I really am trying to help out. I mean, it's really empowering being able to 3D model your own suit of armor or your own helmet or replicate something from a video game or movie that you like. Or it really is cool. I really enjoy it. I think many people would. So I'm trying to give the crowd what they want. But you've got to be able to seek out the knowledge. You've got to put the time and effort into it. You know, follow along. Download ZBrush and follow along. Install it. I want to say it's like $30 a month or something like that to have a subscription to the full version of ZBrush. So give it a shot. I mean, it's fun. $30 is cheaper than going out to eat often. You know what I mean? Like, go out to eat one time, you're going to spend $30. Really, anymore, regardless of where you go. So, give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. It's a healthier hobby than a lot of hobbies out there. And you're learning a new skill, and you can make money at it. You can sell your 3D files. That's what I do. I sell my files passively online. I design the file, I upload, get it ready for 3D printing, and then I will then upload it to various websites, and people can go and get the download themselves and print it on their own desktop 3D printer. And so it can generate income for you too if you decide to do it. And really, I would encourage y'all too. It's well worth it in many ways. Okay, so now that we've done that, I think we want to create another overlay right in here. Go down to low resolution. I don't like how dark that is. I'm going to change the... Oh, it's because it's black. That's why. It's because it's black. We'll go ahead and leave it there for now. All right. Zoom out here and take a look. So I think we need some detail in through here and across the brow and kind of up and through here in some way. And then I think we need some more detail in through here, some kind of filigree work of some sort. And then something in through here. And then I think we need some layered armor plates on the back of the helmet of some sort. And then we'll do some rivets, some mechanical rivets as well throughout the helmet. And then I think maybe some inserted detail here. For instance, if I was to go to low res, Zmodeler, and select all these like that. Maybe go to inset. Something like that right there. Got some type of problem right there. I think I need to switch back to matcap gray just because it's just too dark. Too dark. Okay. We're going to go to move. We can always switch it back to black here in a little bit. Move that in. And then highlight. Not sure what happened there, but had to mirror and weld on X. It's giving an error stating that the helmet wasn't symmetrical on both sides. Then I want to go to, I highlighted that with holding down Alt and left clicking on each section. Then I want to go to Q Mesh and sink that in like that. Now let's go to high res and see what happens. Let's turn off polyframe mode. Do I like the circular? Absolutely not. I do not like the circular. That looks horrendous. So we're going to go to crease, edge loop partial, and we're going to crease all of these. It'll take a lot of work, but that's okay. I think it's going to look pretty slick. What happens if I crease that? Did it crease that too? Yes, it did. It creased this, and I don't want that creased. Sometimes the angles get tricky. Okay, why is that happening? That should be creased. Still going to happen. So I might as well. Sometimes it's just trial and error. You know what I mean? And this actually needs to be stitched to here and this to there. And I don't want that creased, I guess. A lot of work. Lot of work. See if I can kind of do it in sections. I think maybe I can do edge loop partial and make this go faster. Just left clicking on these edges to make sure that they're creased. That's all I'm doing to keep these as close to 90-degree angles as possible. Nice and crisp. So, I want you to imagine kind of like a Spartan's helmet from the medieval time period. And then imagine that meshed up with a futuristic sci-fi civilization that is what we're going for with the helmet here. Like I said, it gets tricky sometimes making sure you're getting all the parts that you want to creased based upon the angles around whatever the piece is that you're working on. A lot of repetitiveness. Undo. I guess what we could do is potentially go to crease on this polygon and see if that works better. Maybe there's fewer sides that we need to crease at that point. Maybe there's fewer clicks, fewer angles that we need to point to. All right, let's see where we're at. All right. Now let's turn off polyframe mode. Let's go back to black. We definitely need something around the eyes. Definitely need some trim around the eyes. Kind of considering putting another one of these right here. I don't know yet though. How long have we been streaming? About the same length of time as yesterday. But that's okay, we're going to continue on. I have more time today than I did yesterday. We're going to go ahead and grab this because it's bothering me. And we are going to turn on polyframe mode, turn our draw size up just a little way, and just tuck that back in. Transparency. I'm actually able to grab this piece, pull that up to about right there. All right. All right, so next, I think we're going to work on some type of design in through here to meet up with the eyes. Go here, polyframe mode, low res. We're going to change the color back to matte cap gray. And I think we're going to Zmodeler brush, and we're going to highlight. Whoop. Make sure we didn't get anything on the inside. And maybe select all this around here and to there. Nothing on the inside. And then we're going to go to extrude, no sides poly. Pull that out just a little way. Auto group, group split. Select this. Okay. Then we can select the helmet and grab the move tool, push this back inside the helmet the way that it should be. Reselect that. Turn the helmet back on high resolution. Reselect this. And then we will use the move tool to pull this down and around. And out. Just so that we can get the overall shape of it the way that we want to. And again, this is an opportunity to make it look even more menacing. Okay, that's not too bad. We'll go to QMesh and polygroup all. Give it a little something, a little something like that. And we'll go to high res. All right, definitely need a crease. I think I definitely want to stitch at these points, there to there, and there to there. All right, now we're going to start moving things around. We could end up connecting the trim around the eyes to the trim around the front of the mask here. That's not really an issue, which it looks like right in here we might need to do that. Sometimes it's tricky to get the proper angle that you want to get. But just keep working at it. Keep changing the camera angle and you'll figure out where you need to be. A little bit more pronounced than I want it to be. I don't want it to be quite that far off the original model in thickness. It's okay if it's a little thick from inside to outside, but as far as the standoff goes from the outside of the model, I don't want it to be quite that thick. I still want it to look nice and streamlined and built for speed, if that makes sense. Looks pretty cool. All right. Now, what is next? Looking pretty good. I like that little addition right there. I think this needs the same here. Okay, the side profile looks good. I like the side profile better than I do the front profile, and that's because you've got all this empty space here. I know that we have this empty space here, but that's natural with a helmet. And so I want to add some more details. It needs to be tasteful, not just thrown together. You know what I mean? So we're potentially to the point where we need to move on to another variation of the helmet. Although I'm considering doing some armored plates across the back here. And I think downward V's are the right approach. Downward V plates. Polyframe on. Instead of doing that, yeah, I think I might actually do that. All right, we're just going to go ahead and go to low res. Ooh, that's all jacked. Move that. It looks right. All right, low res. I'm going to Zmodeler, highlight 1, 2. Just click, don't drag because you'll take the chance of selecting something on the inside. So we're going to Q mesh this out, or extrude rather. No sides poly. Slide that out. Auto group, group split. Okay, select this. Actually select the helmet, high res. Select this. We're going to play around a little bit and see how I want to do this. And we come up with somewhat of a layered plate look without it being too gaudy. Without it being too much. We might have to modify the back of the helmet a little bit. Let me see if I have any. No, I just have something in my mind. I don't have anything as far as a reference image to depict what I'm going for here. I'll stay with where I'm at and see what I can come up with. All right, so grab the move tool, start pulling some things around here. Bear with me because this is probably going to take a minute. Again, feel free to skip ahead if you'd like. You don't have to watch every portion of this video. I'll see about maybe putting some timestamps in. It's just a lot of work. It's a lot of work to put timestamps in. To be honest with you, I've never done it before, but I can imagine that it's just an incredible amount of work because then you have to re-watch everything that it is that you've already recorded. And this is over a 2-hour recorded video right now. And I don't think I'm going to need to edit any of it. At least I'm not going to, because I don't want to take the chance of editing out something that somebody needs somewhere, because everybody's in various stages of their 3D modeling skills. And if I edit something, I'm inevitably going to cut out something that somebody out there wants. All right. I think I want to bring like that. I can bring out a little bit more, that out a little bit more. I might need to insert there a poly loop, edge loop. All right. Slide that in. What's another one over here on my reference images? Where is it at here? Where is it at? Well, don't even remember which one it was. Oh, maybe it's that one right there. Okay. Let's go ahead and give this some thickness. We'll go to Q mesh. Extrude that out. Just left clicked once instead of dragging, because then it extruded similarly to the same distance as these others that I've created, at least that last one. Okay, then we're going to go to crease, partial, let's go in solo so we can see what we're doing. Crease that, should be creased on both sides, high resolution. Crease that. Turn off solo. Change the color. Turn off polyframe mode. Not quite what I'm going for. So how can I achieve this? Let's go to low res. Let's insert here. Insert here. Stitch these points. We're going to go solo. We're going to stitch this point to this point. But we'll go mid, so midpoint. And then gap there. Stitch. And we'll stitch on the inside too. Then we're going to highlight this, 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 and this, and then we're going to try to get rid of it. Let's think here. Let's think. How can we do this? Line quarter step, weak attraction, normal attraction, enable triangle snap. Not what I wanted. Not what I wanted. So maybe I need to do one at a time. Undo. Highlight that. No. I know there's a way to do it, so bear with me here. Single poly. No alignment. Well, instead of trying to figure that out, we're just going to do it a different way. We're going to go to delete, turn our draw size down. We're going to delete all of this, and this, and this, inside and outside. And then we will just bridge this. Hover over that edge loop, and we're going to bridge that to that. Should go pretty quickly. As long as I can select it, bridge that to that, that to that. Now I need to crease all of this. May end up doing all of this and then not liking it. Kind of the way that I feel right now. I got to work on my posture. Sitting here at this desk. I hate having bad posture. And then you just get relaxed and in the zone and have bad posture. I think we need to insert in here. Make sure that we can smooth this out. If we don't insert, then we're going to have a smoothness issue. Okay, so we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to go to the Move tool. We're going to pin to this subtool, and we're going to move it in. Gets us a little bit closer to where we want to be. And then we can adjust it further now that we're a little closer. Kind of tricky to see the angle that I want here, but I think we're going to be able to do it. I think what I don't like about it is that these gaps aren't as wide as I want them to be. Not sure if I like it. Did all that work and I don't think I like it. Maybe I need to change it to black real quick and see. And see what I think. Tell you one thing, I don't like that. I don't like that you look back here and you don't see black there. That bothers me. That's better. Just using a large move brush, large draw size. I don't know, it's not quite what I was looking for, but not a lot of reference images of the back sides of these helmets, and I don't want it to just be wide open the way that it is. I kind of envisioned some type of trim plates that layer in the shape of V's down the back here, but I'm not liking the way that it's looking here. I'm not sure. Maybe I just need to work on another part and then come back to it, which I think is probably a good bet. See if I can look at some of these other helmets here and see if they are anything like what I'm looking for. I guess I could potentially carry the spikes down the back, but I'm not sure that I like that idea either. But it kind of seems kind of off. Something with the back seems off. I don't think I mind that. It's not terrible. But there's just something in through here that is bothering me. I think I don't like this either. Well, I like the way that it was. Sunk in a little bit more there. Okay. Let's go to low res. See about snagging something off of here. Let's go ahead and go back to matte cap gray so we can see a little bit better. Go back to high resolution. And we'll go back to high resolution here in a minute. Thinking about grabbing something in through here. Make sure I've got nothing on the inside selected. Maybe go with that. All right. Go ahead and go back to extrude, no sides poly. Pull that out. Make sure I don't have anything wonky. I think I'm good. Auto group, group split. Go back to the helmet, high resolution, go back to here and start modifying this. All right. We've got two. I should have thought about that. So we're going to merge down. Good opportunity to show you, since these are two separate sides and they're not connected from right to left, they aren't being manipulated by symmetry. So we're going to mirror and weld. That way it is all one poly group. Now it's symmetrical on both sides. We're going to go to move. Pull this down, pull it out a little bit. We are going to connect these. And how we're going to do that is by a bridge. Zmodeler, hover over this edge, go to bridge, and we're going to bridge that to that. Okay, then we're going to go mirror and weld. Put a seam right there in the middle. Go back to the move brush. Pull this out. Pull this down. We're going to make this nice and sharp in through there. Pull this out. Pull this up. And we'll see how we're going to do that. Not sure. Don't like the way that it looks right now, but we're going to see how it goes. I know I want some color down through here. A lot of times this is going to be, most of the time this is going to be printed all in one color. I don't separate all these parts off from the main helmet. I combine it all at the very end and it'll be one solid mesh. But we're going to hover over here, insert, and we're going to go to Alt, and we're going to... All right, guys, this is the end of the video for this part. Part 2, Part 3 is coming up next. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss that. Please like, share, and subscribe if you find this information valuable. I greatly appreciate it, guys. If you have any questions for me, please let me know. I'm happy to answer your questions. If you have any suggestions for me, please let me know. I don't know everything there is to know about ZBrush, and I'm happy to hear what you have to say. If you made it to the end of this video, put in the comments, jelly bean. The word of the day is jelly bean. I will take a look, and I may have a reward for you if you put in the comments jelly bean. Thank you very much, guys. Y'all take care and have a great one.